Travel. Vous voulez voyager? Achetez vos billets d'avion à l'agent de voyage Tempo Afrique Travel. Avec l'agent de voyage Tempo Afrique Travel, pas de problème de connexion, pas de problème de transfert de vol. Avec l'agent de voyage Tempo Afrique Travel, c'est le voyage en toute tranquillité, en toute beauté, de votre maison jusqu'à votre destination. Votre satisfaction est notre plaisir.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Premium Law Access. My name is Uche Waneri, immigration attorney. I'm here to help you with your immigration issues as long as it concerns the U.S. immigration law. Today, I'm going to be talking to you about immigration forms, tips for filling out immigration forms. Exciting, right? Yes, let's get to it. So what's the first tip? You want to make sure that you're filling out the right immigration form. You don't want to send the wrong form because your application is going to be rejected or even denied, possibly. So you'd want to make sure that the information you're using, the application form you're using is the right one, it's the correct edition. And then when you are filling out that form, listen up. You'd want to make sure that your information is truthful, it's correct, and it's consistent. So you want to make sure that consistency, and why I'm hammering on consistency means that sometimes you have to submit more than one immigration form. The questions are repetitive. So you want to make sure that your information is consistent across the board. And I'm going to give you an example. Maybe application A, your name is John. And in application B, you suddenly remember that your name is John Michael. And then you use John in one application and John Michael in another application. That's not being consistent, and that will bring an issue. So make sure that you're putting all your information consistently, and then you're being truthful, and then you're offering correct answers. So after filling out this information, you'd want to make sure that the filing fees, you are enclosing the correct filing fees. You'd always want to make sure that you're calculating the right filing fees. There's a tool on the immigration website for you to do that. In doing the filing fee, after enclosing the filing fee, you'd want to make sure that your application is also sent to the right location. There's so many immigration addresses, so you want to make sure it is being sent to the right immigration location so that your application is not denied. Now, before you enclose that package, go through it again very carefully. One very important tip is signing the application. And truly, yes, signing, it's a big deal, because if you don't sign your application, you run the risk of having that application to be rejected. It could be rejected and it could be denied just because your signature was not there. So you really have to sign your application. And most immigration forms will have to go with supporting documents. So these supporting documents, you want to ensure that you're enclosing the right supporting documents. And if any of the supporting documents is in a foreign language, you'd have to translate that and enclose a certified translation along with that foreign document. So when you have your package complete, the one last step you should do is to make copies. Make copies of what you're sending to immigration. Sometimes, but very rarely, your application could get lost. So with that copy you have, you're able to track it, you're able to make calls to immigration and reference that application. So always make sure you keep a copy of what you're sending. So when you send your application, yeah, it's one step done. The next step is, if you have moved, if you have any cause to move after you've sent your application, please update your information with immigration. you have to change your address. You have to update your address. That is very important because they will keep sending you notices. And if they send it to a wrong address, you might miss a very important appointment. So it's very important that your address is current with immigration. So lastly, on this point, on the tips, I'm giving you these tips because, yes, for some of you, you'd want to do the immigration forms yourself. And yes, you can do it because the information is out there, the instructions are there. If you feel confident to do that, go ahead and do it. But if you are not confident to do it, please don't use a notarial. Notarials are cheap. Yes, they are cheaper than a normal that an attorney will charge you, but it can eventually become more costly, especially when there are mistakes. So be careful. It's either you do it yourself or you contact an attorney to help you navigate this. Attorneys actually offer free consultation, and I would advise you to make use of that free consultation to be able to ensure that you're on the right path, if nothing else. But avoid notarials, please. So really, that is about sending your form. These are really tips about completing the forms. So what else will I be telling you about? I'm going to now give you, I'm not going to navigate into the myths about immigration. What do I mean by myths? It's really about misconception about immigration. So I'm going to discuss a few points, and I want you to really please listen attentively. So some people would say immigration is all about filling forms. I'm sure you've heard this a million times, number of times. And here's what I'll tell you. Is it really? To an extent it is, and to an extent it is not. And mostly it is not, I will tell you that. If it was just about filling forms, then you will ask yourself, why are applications being denied? Why am I receiving requests for evidence? Why am I receiving a notice of intent to deny? Why am I even referred to the immigration court? So I would rather frame it this way, that immigration is really more about applying for benefits, applying for reliefs. And those reliefs, they can vary. It could be one, to apply for a visitor's visa. I want to come temporarily to the United States. It could also be, I want a student visa. I want to advance my education in the United States. It could also be because you're fleeing from your country because of what is going out there, maybe persecution, and you want a safe harbor, a safe place to go to. Or you really have your family, most of your family here, and you want to unite with your family. So it's really more about applying for these benefits to know which one you qualify for and the strategy. Or sometimes you might even qualify for more than one benefit. But then you have to strategize to know which one and know what is more important to you. Is it coming here quickly, or is it coming here with a green card? So this is all it entails with immigration. So form filling is a part of it, because with any application you're filing, you need to fill a form. So it's a part of it, but it is just not right to say that immigration is all about filling forms. In addition to that, you'll notice that the forms are not what they used to be. They used to be simpler to fill out. Maybe you just have a few pages, about 5 pages or so. But now you have up to 20 pages. And then now they're using more finite words like ever, any, every. So you want to be careful about filling out this form. So it's not just about filling forms and then you do it carelessly. Those mistakes can really cost you. So I've also heard some people are also talking about, do I have to use a lawyer? And I'm going to tell you, I'm not going to be biased because I'm a lawyer. I would encourage you, if you can, fill out the application yourself. And like I said earlier, and you're confident about doing that, by all means, do it yourself. But if you can't, you're engaging a lawyer means that the lawyer is able to assess your circumstance, because your situation might be different from what you are thinking, or you might be eligible for a benefit better than what you are thinking. So the lawyer there is there to guide you. And that's why I would ask you and recommend that you take advantage of attorneys who offer those free consultation. Our office is one of them, by the way. We offer 30-minute consultation. Feel free to ask your questions, even if eventually you'll be doing it yourself, but you want to make sure that you're on the right course. So that is where the lawyer comes in. You don't want to hire a lawyer after a mistake has been done. It will cost you a lot more. So it is better to make that determination. If I want to do it myself, I do it myself. If I want to use a lawyer, I'm going to use a lawyer. If I actually fill out the forms and I want a lawyer to review the forms, those options are also available. But what you don't want to do is just making the mistakes or assuming that you're right and you make the mistakes. There's another myth that I'm going to talk to you about, and that is you often hear, oh, Mr. A applied for the same application and his own came quicker and his own became approved and mine is still pending. So what is going on with mine? So be very careful because you're going to hear a lot. There's a lot of information out there and people are also advising you based on their own experience. Like I said earlier, people are applying for different benefits. And I also want to let you know that no two immigration cases are the same. The fact scenarios are never ever going to be the same. They might be similar, but they will never all be the same. So be very careful when you're listening to people and you're acting on what they have advised you on. Be very careful because one is you might be applying for a different benefit. You may be also applying at a different time, or your friend may have applied maybe way back where the forms were only 5 pages. And you are applying now where you have more forms and even more pages and more information is required. So be very careful when you're listening. Oh, when I did mine, it was just 3 months and I got this and all that. Times have changed. Immigration has become more complex and it is very complex for everybody. So be very careful when you are listening to people. The other myth I want to talk to you about is, especially if you're from Nigeria, there is, President Trump had issued the executive orders saying that there wouldn't be any more processing of immigrant visas. So now there's a misconception about that because what people have been saying now is, oh, you can never apply for any immigrant visa if you are from Nigeria. That is wrong. It only says that when it comes, you can continue processing, but when it comes to scheduling an interview or the embassy issuing you with an immigrant visa, there is an executive order to keep that on hold now. Soon it will be lifted. And I'll tell you for a fact, as at last week, my client that I applied for immigrant visa from Nigeria already has an appointment for interview coming up in February. So I think they have lifted that ban. And I would encourage you, if you're from Nigeria and you have an immigrant petition, go ahead and apply. The embassies are beginning to schedule interviews. So it is not right that you should not apply at all. Okay? So I guess that brings me to the very last information I'll be sharing with you. Now, with the Biden administration, we are expecting changes in immigration. So I'll ask you to tune in. I will be going through all of those with you so that you're well informed and well advised about that. So tune in. We're waiting for that. I mean, we're hearing a little bit about it, but I really want to read and be able to inform you well about that. So I guess this brings me to the end of the presentation. And especially for Africans, I want to be that voice for you. I want you to contribute and let me know what your concerns are. Like I said, immigration is very complex. And if you have questions, please feel free. I really want to help you. And that's why I have my number there. I'm doing all these presentations just for you to have access. Call me and we can always talk about your immigration matters. I really don't want you getting into making those mistakes, and they are costly mistakes for that matter. So please don't hesitate to call me. Once again, thank you for tuning in, and thank you always for your time. I'm looking forward to speaking with you again next week. And hopefully, maybe then I will hear more about the Biden immigration plan. Bye.
My whole life, my father told me stories about moving to the United States. He would tell me that his brother, my Uncle George, was already living here and let my father stay with him for a while. Through my Uncle George, my father was introduced to our cultural organization here in America, who helped him make connections, apply for college, find his first job, and adjust to life in a completely different culture than he was used to. The Cultural Association helped him get started on his new life. My Uncle George would bring my father with him to the annual Summer Cultural Groups Festival, and later, he would bring me. It was incredible to see so many people of all ages laughing and celebrating with food and song and dance. It brought back the best feelings of home and gave my father the opportunity to pass his culture, language, and values on to me. My father and Uncle George were very close, so when George died last year, my father wanted to honor his wishes to be buried with a traditional ceremony back at his birthplace. My father told me that because Uncle George had cultural group life insurance, he was able to afford to bring George home and have the traditional burial George wanted. Though my father had been able to honor my Uncle George's wishes, it got me thinking about my own family. One day, I'd have to make the same arrangements for my own parents, and my wife's parents as well. Of course, we would want to bring them home and honor their wishes, but it would be a financial hardship for our family. There were a lot of things to think about, even though I really didn't want to think about them at all. When my father told me about cultural group life insurance, he told me it's intended to help families when they need it the most. It's not tied to an employer, so no matter where my career takes me, I'll always have coverage. The more people who participate and the younger they are, the more it helps keep the insurance premiums down for the entire association. Because my parents have cultural group term life insurance, there will be money available to help me provide the kind of service I want to give my parents. And by joining, I can put my mind at ease and continue to celebrate our traditions into the future. With cultural group life insurance, I can worry less and spend more of my time celebrating with the people who matter most to me.